Did you ever play Mousetrap when you were a kid? Or at least try to play it? For those of you who haven't played it, it's basically a Rube Goldberg machine that's set up to try and catch a mouse. The game itself is super fun and exciting, but getting the whole thing to work can be a bit of a pain. You have this marble running down a track, eventually a boot kicks something over, and an army man flies up in the air and lands. It's really tough to get it to work correctly. To be honest, automated actions inside of ODOO can feel a lot like Mousetrap sometimes. We have this trigger that kicks off a chain of events, and it can be pretty tough to see what's going wrong if we don't know where to look. So in this series of videos, we're going to talk about not only how do you set up an automated action, but then how do you break it down and make sure that it's working properly. How do you work through it step by step and make sure that you're not missing something? So I want you to have the satisfaction of catching that mouse, or at least getting that automated action running. So let's get into it. So let's first make sure that we're comfortable with getting into automated actions. So we're going to go and make sure we're in developer mode because that adds some functionality for us. Then we're going to go to sales, and we can go into any model here. And then we're going to go into studio. Then we're going to go to automations here. And what this gives us is a list of all of our current automated actions for this model. So let's go ahead and create a new automated action just to break down the parts. So the two most important parts here are the trigger and the actions to do. The trigger is what tells ODOO that it wants to run these other actions. So if we were playing Mousetrap again, it's me putting that marble in that kicks off everything else, including the kicking boot and the flying army man. As I'm sure you can imagine, if our trigger isn't working properly, nothing else is going to work. It's not going to kick off what we want it to do because ODOO is not seeing that we actually want anything to happen. Because this is so important, I'm going to have a video on triggers specifically, on the different types, and also an easy way you can see if your trigger is working. We then have our actions to do. As long as our trigger is working properly, ODOO is then going to look at it and say, okay, what do I need to do now? We can do so many things with these actions. It's really quite impressive what a person can do once they fully understand this functionality. Because there are so many different things we can do with these actions, I'm going to have several more videos on these, with one specifically on Python code and how to make sure that you're stepping through that process correctly, and a way that you can easily see where you're getting caught up if your code is causing problems. Beyond just the trigger on the face of it and the actions to do, there are the domains that are applied to the trigger here. This is important to understand, and we will go over these as well. I'm going to make sure that by the end of this, you know how to step through an automated action with full confidence, and you know how to break it down to make sure that everything is right and is kicking off when you want it to kick off. So there's everything that we're going to talk about. To be perfectly clear, this is for beginners, but it will help you move to a spot where you feel fully comfortable to use automated actions. So let's dive in. Let's get that Mousetrap working and make things easier for you and your company.